Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Broken Meeple, and this intro is slightly different, you'll think, to many others. That's because this is a dual-purpose episode. I wanted to do a preview episode for the UK Games Expo that's just around the corner on my podcast, and then I thought, some people want to see some pictures and bits and bobs, so I thought, you know what, I'll do one for both. So I'll do this episode, which the audio only will go on the podcast, as some of you are listening to, hopefully on your car journeys to the expo now, or in video form so that you can see a few pictures if you like. I will certainly try to not have too much in the way of visual representation in this episode, because it's just going to be pictures on the screen. It's not like I'm going to be getting out a board game and showcasing it off or anything, but hopefully you'll still be able to get a feel of what I'm trying to say both in the video form and the audio form. So let's get on with it. Yes, the UK Games Expo, the UK's biggest convention, bar none, that goes on, for once a year. I wish it was more often. Actually, maybe not. I need some free time. But the UK Games Expo is just a great place to go. I have been going ever since I started blogging. I missed it in 2013, I think, or 14 when I started blogging, because I started just after the Games Expo had finished. And then I went every single year throughout. So I was there when it was just finishing up its time in the Hilton Hotel, when it used to be literally just the Hilton Hotel. And then as it's expanded to the NEC Centre in Birmingham, it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. It is now taking up 2 halls instead of 1 now, which is, phew, it needs to. Although, let's not go mad, people. Let's not get it too big for its own good. More on that later. But, it's getting bigger and bigger. It's getting better and better. And I love going to this expo, so I cannot wait to go next week. I'll be there from Thursday evening all the way to Sunday evening as well, because I need to be there for the press event that's going on in Hall 2 on Thursday afternoon, shortly before the Open Gaming opens up. So for this episode, I am likely to be sweltering because it is Bank Holiday Monday and it is hot. It's hot in the UK right now, and this is a new build house, which means it just sucks up the heat and doesn't let go of it. And in order to avoid any background noise from outside, I need to shut the window, which means if you see glistening drops on my face, or if you can hear the trickle of water on the audio, then you'll know that's just me literally melting away. But, needs must in order to have a decent audio for this episode. So I've been getting my, various bits and bobs together. So I've got, list of the press event exhibitors here. I've got the UK Games Expo guide. You can get that off the website. I've got the bring and buy list all ready to go with games that I've done. I've got the map, the very useful map where I've annotated the main things I'm looking for. And I've even gone onto Tabletop Together's website and printed off a sheet of the main games that I'm looking for with their hall locations and numbers. If you've not heard of that tool, it's a great tool done by Tabletop Together, and it basically, every time a convention comes along, they use the geek list from Board Game Geek, as well as some recommendations from other people, and they put together this big checklist full of games that are going to appear at a convention, whether in demo form or in full retail form, and then you prioritize whether you want them or not. So you essentially go like, maybe, want, need, don't care, that sort of thing. And once you've done it all, you can filter the options, you can see what you need, and then you can print out the list in order of priority or hall number. It's a really great tool. It even has links to Board Game Geek and publisher websites in order for you to find out about the game. What I tend to do is I basically go through the entire list and I skim through and check off anything that I really have no interest in. And that's not to say I think the games are bad that I don't have an interest in. It may just be because they're not my type of game. Maybe because I'm not a fan of the publisher's previous games. Maybe that I'm not a fan of the designer's previous games. Or maybe it's just a genre that I'm not interested in, say, children's games. I tick off every single game that says children's game as a description because, well, I don't have kids and I don't often play with kids. Therefore, why do I need to worry too much about children's games? It's just not my thing. However, there is obviously a lot of games on that list. I did find myself checking off quite a few as ignore though, more so than in previous years. And that's not to say the expo doesn't come up with good games, but what tends to happen in this industry is the expo tends to just showcase games that you've heard of, but haven't maybe got around to playing from previous years, or the highlighted really good stuff. And then it also highlights a lot of indie publishers, the small-time publishers. And the problem I have with that is that I don't know anything about these publishers or the games that they're doing. So I'm literally stabbing in the dark, and that means the game literally has only a picture, a small blurb, and mechanics to sell me on the game. And I'm at a stage now where I want to see innovation in games. I want to see a game that says it's going to be different. This is like not going to be just like the next Lords of Waterdeep worker placement game. This is going to be different because of this, and that's what intrigues me. Unfortunately, I scroll down that list and I see a lot of games that sound like they're just copying other games that are just basically, we want this 50th edition of Cards Against Humanity-esque game for party people. Or they use like play on words that just sound more like a gimmick. There's only so many times you can have the word orc in a title phrased slightly differently with play on words, and that's not something I'm looking for when I go for games. So as you can see, this list is one A4 sheet of paper, one-sided. That is it. There was like a couple hundred games on there, I think. There was quite a few games on there. And I've literally got one page of A4. That's it. Now, that's, some of those games are ones that I've already played. So, I'll say straight off the bat now, I think that if you have not played games like, to be fair, go to places like Fantasy Flight, Asmodee, all the big publishers, go to their booths, because I'm sure you will find something from previous years you've not played yet. And there are some games that haven't come out yet that I have already played that I haven't put on the list simply because I've already played them. The best one I can think of is probably Dice Hospital by Alley Cat Games. This is a really cool dice placement, sort of semi-worker placement game, and you're trying to cure the patients in your hospital. There's different types. They tick down in their health as you're trying to build rooms and get assistance in order to cure them better. And it's about trying to be efficient with your hospital. It's a really cool game. I've only played like prototype versions of it, but I think it's going to look the business. I've already backed the Kickstarter, but I've played 2 games of it. So I already know this is a game I'm going to get and that I want. So I don't need to go to the booth to play it again. But I recommend that if you are going past Alley Cat's booth, that you go and check that game out. So call that an honourable mention. So, I'll get onto the games a bit later, but what am I looking for at the expo in general? Mainly just to meet people and just soak in the atmosphere. That's one thing I get out of the UK Games Expo. Because there's a lot of people I know on like Facebook and Twitter and so other social media channels through publishing this blog, but I don't get to meet you very often. You're either all the way up the other end of the UK, or you're overseas even and you're visiting, or maybe everyone's just busy. Well, it's good to be able to have everyone just congregate into one place and allow me to meet them. And that's all sorts of people that I've known for ages. That's just like, good to meet you again. Shake the hand, have a chat, grab a game, grab some dinner. And it's just good to, just socialize and just take in the fact that you're at a convention where everybody there is a gamer fan, or at least half a gamer fan. It depends how many spouses or husbands and wives and that have been dragged along by the other partner. I know that I dragged my girlfriend to one convention already, but she enjoyed it. So unfortunately she won't be coming with me to this convention because I figured this would be a bit much for her. She's already been with me to AirCon, which is a great convention, but that one was mostly to do with playing games, and I figured that was the good thing. That was the convention I wanted her to go to. This is more of a trade fair / networking thing. I have to do a lot of work as the blogger, so I kind of wasn't as keen to bring her along to this one. And she agreed as well. I think this would be a step too far. Get her more into games and then we'll see. So, as well as meeting people, I want to get in some games, demos of games that I've heard of, but never got around to playing. I'll go on to those in a minute. And, just generally have fun. That's the main reason you go to an expo, isn't it? You want to look around all the stalls, you want to soak in like the different, meet artists, meet designers, check out all these games that you've never heard of, grab a few demos every now and again, just talk to people, grab accessories. I like going around the accessory stands and saying, oh, do I fancy these cool dice, or do I fancy that dice tower, or maybe these wooden inserts, things like basically wooden are there, and Gigasun with their tables, and Broken Tokens sell a few of their things via some of the retailers. I love checking out those inserts and those various cool accessories, and it's not that I'm going to buy them all. They're expensive. I'm already on a Gigasun table here. I don't need another one. Although, no, it's not going to happen. I haven't got the money or the space. And this one, this one already takes up a lot of space in this room as it is. So, just generally, I like to shop around. I like to just soak it in. I'm going to be on the Dice Tower booth at various moments. So if you want to, meet up with me and chat, you'll see me wandering around in my blog t-shirt. Feel free to stop me and just say hi, shake my hand, Well, I was about to say punch me in the face, maybe not. But, just set up and say hi. Doesn't matter, if I look like I'm heading somewhere in a hurry, then stop me anyway. I'll let you know that, I'm heading off somewhere, and I'll, pleasantly, politely say goodbye and ask to maybe meet me later, or just say you can find me at this place at this time. I'm not gonna, shout at you or anything for stopping me in my path. Don't worry. Unless I know you and have a good reason to, but that's a different story. So, Dice Tower booth, yes, Dice Tower will be there. Not Sam Healy, unfortunately. He's got family matters to deal with back in Florida. Nothing major, but it's just double clashing of events. So just Tom and Z will be there, and I'll be on the Dice Tower booth helping them out as I do each time. So looking at my map, I'm there. They're at Hall 1 J32, and I'm going to be there at 5 o'clock on Friday, and this is for like hourly shifts. So 5 o'clock on Friday, so at the end. 9:30 in the morning on Saturday, as well as 2 p.m. I'm taking over, I'm relieving somebody at that time. And Sunday at 1 p.m. I might be there at other times because I'm dropping bags off, or I'm helping out, or, I just feel like, what, I've done enough of this expo, do you guys need a hand? But those 4 hourly slots, I'm definitely at the Dice Tower booth, probably helping them sell promos, or, populate the Dice Tower network and such. So if you want to chat to me personally, then just feel free to head there at that time. Lastly, before I get on to the games, I want to highlight some factors that you might want to consider, especially if you're new to the expo. Firstly, nobody likes to carry around a ton of games, or have to hold bags forever. And even in my case, I've got some ligament damage in my fingers, so I've got to be careful about carrying too heavy bags on this occasion. So if you have nowhere to store your collection of games you've bought, or that you've bought for open gaming, then here's a couple of things to bear in mind. Firstly, the open gaming does have a big substantial library, so don't feel that you need to bring every game you have in your collection in order to play open gaming. And there'll be one in the Hilton Hotel, there'll be one in Hall 2. So again, don't feel you've got to bring everything. Secondly, Games Quest will be helping out by having what they call a shop and drop. I forget where it is. It's the top corner of Hall 1. So imagine that you've gone through the entrance, say that you're on the bottom right corner of Hall 1 when you walk in. The top left corner will have the shop and drop. Pay £2, you can store your games in one of their crates or boxes or whatever they've got around there. It's a small little fee, but they take it off you, and as long as you collect them by the end of the day, they're safely stored, and you can just add to it as time goes on. Very handy if you think that you're going to empty these trade stands of a lot of games and you don't want to carry them around, because trust me, when you are walking around this place for many, many, many hours, the less you've got to carry weight-wise, the better. A few other little tips, definitely for newcomers, I suggest that you have comfortable walking shoes, because if you do not, you will feel those blisters by the end of the day because you do a lot of walking. I've even bought some new trainers to replace the ones I've got because they were falling apart. These ones I know are comfortable for walking, so hopefully they'll do the trick. Secondly, you need a ton of water. A lot of water. It's no good expecting to go around food stalls and buy water because it will be expensive. This is the NEC Centre, it's at a convention, you know that food and drink is going to come at a premium. Therefore, you need water. Carry several bottles of water on you, or one giant bottle of water, and be prepared to fill it up at a tap from a WC or something, a public convenience. Water is water at the end of the day, but you certainly need the water. I'm not saying it's going to roast in there, but we're in a period of hot weather at the moment, and it's relatively well air conditioned in there, but you're going to be walking around. There's a lot of people. You're going to be thirsty. You're going to need the water. Take water. I cannot stress that enough. And while you're at that, take some snacks as well. Make certain that you can, get some nourishment as you go through. Just take some fruit, some nuts. That's a good healthy way to do it. If you want to be unhealthy, fine, take a chocolate bar if you want, but fruit and nuts I think are the best things to take. A protein bar, I usually take. Those are great, to get some energy and some sugar in your system. Just nice little simple things like that. Okay, you're going to need a good lunch and a good dinner at some point, but there are food stalls outside that I recommend, outside the Hilton and the NEC, for getting a decent lunch. Healthy lunches vary, but you'll be able to get a reasonable meal. Won't be the cheapest thing in the world, but at least it will be a meal. And certainly if you're staying at a local hotel, feed up on breakfast. A lot of breakfast. Just nom, 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 nom. Get in all that breakfast you can so that you don't have to worry about eating for a long time. Bulk yourself up, it'll do you fine. Next up, Bring and Buy. The Bring and Buy is hugely popular, really popular. And if you're looking for a bargain, there are some great games to find in there. But be warned, the Bring and Buy has a high queue system, okay? It's going to be open for registration on Thursday evening as well as early in the morning to get your games in, but you have to put them on the website via your account first, and I've already done that. This is so that they can look it up on their system, print out the labels, and you're good to go. Whether it will work that quickly though kind of depends. They have been prone to technical failures in the past, and the best laid plans of mice and men Afghan Glay, so you're going to have to accept that it won't always go to plan. So I recommend that if you're going to go to the Bring and Buy, get there early. Don't expect to turn up halfway through the day and just be able to zoom right through. And even at the end of the day, you might be a little bit hard pressed. Get there early, make that your first point of call. If you are dropping games off or going around for a browse, first thing you do, go to the Bring and Buy. Get in that queue early if it starts forming. I don't know how big this area is going to be compared to the last time, but don't expect it to be huge. They do queue up quite a lot. I will be dropping my games in the second the press preview finishes on Thursday evening. Get them in, and then crucially, leave them alone. Do not expect to go through the Bring and Buy like 6 times a day. It's not going to happen. I usually drop my games in, and then that's it. I don't even go around to shop around the Bring and Buy much anymore. I'll go around occasionally, like maybe I'll go in first thing in the morning, or last thing in the evening, and I will basically sort of go, oh, let's see what bargains there are. But you've got people there that will camp. They would camp in a tent outside the Bring and Buy in order to try and grab the cheapest bargain that they can. I mean, they are like vultures. Literally like, arr, arr, flying in, trying to grab all these bargains before anybody gets a chance to see. They do exist, and they will be there. Trust me on this. So, like I say, get in early, and just have a couple of look around, get your games in nice and early, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's one stress off your mind. I'm just going to dump them all in. I might go back on one occasion, maybe like ending of Saturday, to lower prices if none of them are selling well. And then on Sunday, here's a good selling tip. Put it at whatever price you want for Friday and Saturday. Leave it, don't touch it. And then at the end of Saturday, check again. And if your games are still not selling, and everything else appears to be, then slash the prices. And I mean slash them. Don't just do like 5% off or something ridiculous. I mean slash those prices. Because anything's better than trying to post games these days with increased postage costs. And at the end of the day, you want less to take home because you've probably bought loads of stuff. And I apologise if you can hear some dogs in the background. But yeah, definitely be wary about what times and what you do around that Bring and Buy. It can be a nightmare if you don't do it right. Okay, I think that's enough on the sort of tips and things like that. I can see the battery light on my camera is going down a bit, so I might have to recharge this at some point. But let's get on to some of the games that I'm looking forward to. And like I say, there's not a huge amount, I admit. So I'm just looking down my list of the Tabletop Together thing, and like I say, some of these I have played once or so, and some of them I'm more intrigued by than desperately want, but I want to try and see anyway. And I've got my iPad here in case I need to find some specific information on these. So first up, I want to go to a Porter Games and look up Santa Maria. This was released in 2017, but it was supposedly a streamlined but reasonably complex Eurogame of which you're developing a colony. I've heard good things from reviews about this game, but I've never really seen a UK copy of it, or perhaps it's just breezed by me and I haven't realised. But this is one that intrigues me. I'd like to get a demo of it, I'd like to play it, and apparently there's an expansion out as well, like Santa Maria Americans or something like that. I forget what it's called. I wonder if it's on this screen. Nope, I can't see it. But it looks interesting, looks very colourful, looks quite fun to play. Yes, this isn't the brand new hotness, but this is an opportunity for me to go and try it out now because it sounds right up my street. Okay, next one up is, I want to try and get another game of this again, but failing that, maybe you could call this an honourable mention because I have played it already, and that is Pictomania by Vlada Shavato at Czech Games Edition. Now, Pictionary is a horrible game. Stupid. If you can't draw well, you suck at the game, it's bad. Don't like it. I much prefer Telestrations that I've got on the shelf below me. that one is a great party game for drawing, just even if you can't draw for toffee. Pictomania likes to take what Pictionary is and fix all the problems that it has with it, because you are still drawing, but whilst you're drawing, you're drawing specific words from like this grid, but you're also trying to guess what your opponents are drawing as well. So there's an added deduction element. And even if you can't draw that well, as long as you can get the general gist of what you're drawing across, that's all they need. And by process of elimination, people will be able to figure out what one you're drawing, even if your drawing's not perfect. And on top of this, you have to be quick to get the deduction element in on the other players, because the longer you leave it, the less points you get if you're correct. So all these budding artists that are like going, oh yeah, I can get the little details in and put a little seagull there on my beach thing, they're taking so long to be really good and artistic that they're not getting in on the rest of the game. So not being able to draw well isn't as big a deal in this. I played it with like Rodney Rocket played, and Efka, and Michael May and Paul Grogan and Mark Cook. It was like basically a celebrity moment around Aircon. It was a great experience. I thought this was a great little party game. It basically fixes everything that's wrong with Pictionary. Definitely worth a look. And I don't normally say that about a lot of Vlaada Chavato games, so got to give credit on that. So next on the agenda we have Chocolate Factory, also from Alley Cat Games. Now this is kind of a weird one with me, because with this one, it could be a hit or miss. Now, the things that are against it for me is the fact that this is set in an early 20th century, so we're talking historical-ish themed, which is not something I go for. And it's also kind of, from what I'm seeing here, an economic game. So, not usually a genre I go for. But here's what's leaning it more my way. Firstly, 45 to 90 minutes. Not a particularly long time, so it's not going to be stupidly heavy. It's also about making chocolate. You're running a chocolate factory, and that's the name of the game, coincidentally. So already, that's a pretty cool theme. I mean, I'm already getting a kind of a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory type vibe from this. And also, it's designed by Matthew Dunstan, who, like I say, hit or miss, but for the most part, some of his games have really sung home with me. I have Elysium on my shelf still over there, and I've recently reviewed Pioneer Days down there. So both of them have ended up in my collection, and he's done some other cool games that I either want to try or have played. Not every single game I love from him, but he's really coming up. We don't have many UK designers. It's nice to have some pretty up-and-coming UK designers. And so I want to give this Chocolate Factory a go. It's only there in demo form, maybe it's only a prototype, but for a 45 to 90 minute economic game, I could probably swing with that. Same also from Alley Cat Games. Like I say, they do feature a bit. This is not sponsored by Alley Cat Games. It's just the way it happened to be when I look through these games. We then have Coral Islands. And Coral Islands, I don't know a lot about this game. Only that it's split into two different games, which has me slightly worried, because when games do that, it's not often that they work. But this one just looks very nice. You're essentially, building giant blocks of dice, lots of different coloured dice, and you're manipulating like coral reef and animals in order to sort of mingle with them for points. That's about as much as I know really on Coral Island, but it looks beautiful with all the different like light coloured dice, translucent dice there. You're stacking them up. It kind of gives me a kind of Blueprints vibe, if you remember that. And dice stacking and things like that, things like Zagrado, which, okay, you're only doing it a single layer, but, having pretty translucent dice everywhere that you can stack around for various things, I think it's going to be a very picturesque game, and I think it should be quite a nice little entertaining light filler game. The fact that it's split into two, though, we'll have to see how that pans out. But certainly, at least the first one, which is more the stacking element, certainly has caught my eye. Now, next one I'm not overly desperate for, but I'll check it out anyway, and that's the Asmodee stand for Century Eastern Wonders. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Century Spice Road. I preferred Imaginarium, even though that's got its problems as well, and, I just didn't really go for the Century Spice Road. I would rather just play Splendor. Splendor I just think works better and quicker. But the thing with this one, being a sort of pick up and deliver game, being able to link with the old one, I don't know how that's going to work. It does look good, picturesque and nice, but then so did the other one, and, the theme was never there. I'm expecting the theme to be equally as tacked on here. So this is about as low in my, anticipated list as I can get. But I'm still going to give it a try. Maybe, just because the first one didn't sing to me, maybe the second one will. I don't have to combine it with the first one. I could just try this one on its own. And for something that's probably only going to be like a 30 to 45 minute game, give or take, let's say an hour, it's not exactly much time out of my life to try it. Then we have Lifeform. Now, Lifeform, I'm worried that this is going to be going on the same premise as Nemesis. Because if you remember the Nemesis Kickstarter, where you're on a ship and there's an alien chasing you and you're trying to get off it and do certain things. I tried that. That really fell for me. I mean, everybody's gone mad with the Kickstarter, mainly because of the miniatures look gorgeous, but the gameplay itself was severely lacking and there was a ton of downtime and quite a fair bit of luck involved and not much variety. I just wasn't a fan of Nemesis. Lifeform's kind of that similar theme. You're on a ship, you're one of these colonists, and there's a nigh indestructible alien chasing you, and you're trying to activate the self-destruct and get off. But this one sounds like it does it slightly better, or at least in a more meaty fashion, because you have a lot of different astronauts with different abilities. It claims to have a very unique self-destruct system, which I'm not quite certain how you have a unique self-destruct system. I mean, you press the button, it counts down, and the thing goes boom, what do you want? But one thing that caught my eye with this was that it's trying to emphasize the horror theme, which is good, because I want more games to emphasize the horror. Everybody's got a unique deck of cards. Good, yeah, unique player, differentiation. I like that. The alien can do all sorts of things like attack, cocoon, activate malfunctioning androids, it can do all sorts of cool stuff. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, we get a nice aliens vibe here. Doesn't use dice, so there's none of that luck thing. And the map, if it's the game I'm thinking of, the map is very big. I mean, this is one big spaceship you're going around, and I'm worried that it might get a bit cluttered as a result. But looks to be quite an involved game that emphasizes that horror theme. I at least want to check this one out. It's also claiming that it doesn't take more than an hour to play. I'll be the judge of that. But, I'd like to give it a shot because I want a game with this theme. Nemesis hasn't done it for me. Maybe this one can do it instead. Next one, which everybody is going mad about at the moment. People I know on blogs and Twitter and that are raving about this game, Villagers. This is only in demo form. I think this has been a Kickstarter as well. I don't know, I don't pay much attention to Kickstarter anymore unless it's an established publisher or something that really sings to me. But Sinister Fish Games are doing this one, and this is apparently an engine building and drafting card game. It comes in a fairly small box, very simplistic artwork, but you're essentially starting from a tiny little farm and you're trying to prosper. But the idea that this can be done with a 1 to 5 players, so you've got a solo mode, the fact that it's claiming from here 30 to 60 minutes, and you've got all the different things you can be like lumberjack, miner, and so jobs, and the fact that you're drafting and building up a little tableau with a little village. Okay, I'm getting a kind of Seven Wonders-esque vibe, but from a farm building perspective. Could be interesting. I'm certainly intrigued to see, but I hope it's not too small in the box for its own good. I mean, there's other games that have just gone ridiculous with the size of the box, and I feel it's too much of a constraint. But this one could be quite good. Looks clean, looks like it could be quite a streamlined little card game. Willing to give this one a good look at. Next one is Quartermaster General The Cold War. Now, I don't go mad for the Quartermaster General games. The first one I was ho-hum about. I liked the 1914 one, but some friends of mine are obsessed with the Quartermaster General games, and we have played them and we have had a good time. I feel that they've gotten better as we go along. This one, the Cold War, sounds like it might be a theme I'm more interested in. Now, I'm not a history buff or anything, but I've seen everything to do with the First World War, and I've seen everything to do with the Second World War. Not a huge amount for the Cold War. I mean, Twilight Struggle was way too big and dull and bleh. But, this one, the fact that you're playing again in those sort of team aspects and, it's like everyone's teetering on that brink before all nuclear war start and everything like that. And I just feel that theme and the setting and the way this one's being portrayed might actually sing to me a bit more. The problem with these games, though, is that you need the max player count for it to really work. You can't afford for these games to have less players than the max count, but maybe this one could be one that I'd want to add if it sings to me. So we'll find out. Cold War, that, I'm sure I think it was PSC Games. So I'll go over the booth numbers. Actually, let me catch up on that. Saturn A Porter Games, booth A6 in Hall 1. Czech Games Edition, booth B2 in Hall 1. Alley Cat Games will be B6 in Hall 1. In fact, all of these are Hall 1, just assume Hall 1. Asmodeus at C10. All or Nothing Productions, who do Lifeform, is at E8. Sinister Fish Games for Villagers will be G3. and PSC games will be G8. The last two that I've got on this list, this one's more of a, I'm just going to buy it regardless, and that's J2 for Stonemaier Games. Also, that might be the Board Game Extras booth. And I want the Viticulture Visit from the Rhine Valley expansion. I'm going to buy this regardless. It's basically more cards, well, a replacement set of visitor cards for what is like my, second, third, fourth favourite game of all time. Of course I'm going to buy this. Now, the idea that it replaces the visitor cards already in the game kind of worries me a little bit, because that means that I've now got the advanced visitor cards that I use all the time, the mini expansion for, what was it, the Uwe Rosenberg one, but now I've got this set, which I have to choose which set I want to use. I don't know how I'm going to like that so much, considering I've got the others, but I've heard that this set focuses more on the winemaking aspect, and less on just gaining victory points. So maybe this is addressing a concern that some people have with viticulture, where they think the victory points are a bit too skewed, a bit too luck-sided, in the cards. If that's the case, then fine, I will give this one a try. But more variety, more stuff for one of my favourite Euro games of all time. In fact, it is my favourite Euro game of all time. Then, yeah, of course I'm going to buy this. What do you think? Let's see, and finally, this isn't really a new game, I just want to try it out. K2 for Grey Fox Games. I want to have a little play of Harvest Dice. I've never played this. It's a 15 to 30 minute dice game. It was published last year. It's got the same, in fact I've just noticed Danny Devine is the designer. I think he also did Topiary that I reviewed earlier this year, which was a pleasant little filler game and very nice artwork. So if this is another light filler game with pleasant artwork, maybe I'll go for it. And I do like farming themes. I don't know what it is. Some people rag on the farming theme. I'm not the biggest fan of Agricola, fine, but I love Caverna, and I do like other games that involve building up farms. I'm a good one with that theme. Maybe it's because I'm from Somerset, I don't know, but I've never worked on a farm, so... So it's, yeah, I can see myself going for a Harvest Dice. I'd just like to give it a try, because I haven't had a chance to yet. And that's it. I'm sorry if your game's not on that list. It doesn't mean that, I think your game's bad or anything. It's just, I'm looking for very specific criteria now that I've played so many games that I want to see new, I want to see innovative, I want to see different, I want something to catch my eye aesthetically. There were some games that I looked on there that, I understand if your game's a prototype, fine, it's not going to look the business, but I've seen some there which are like, now this is near completion or something, and then I look at it and it's like, that looks super bland. Why would I want to turn my head to play this game? You gotta think about aesthetics as well. But there's all sorts of other people there. The exhibitor list in this is huge. There's plenty of people there. Loads of accessories, loads of artists, loads of games, loads of publishers, both indie, both foreign from overseas, and plenty of retailers, Board Game Extra, Chaos Cards, Games Law, Board Game Guru, Games Quest, you name it. They're all going to be there. So there's plenty of games to buy, plenty of stuff to do. And that's pretty much all I can say on this little expo preview. I hope those games in particular, you might want to give those ones a look. But yeah, I'm excited for this expo. Even if it's not a huge list of games, chances are what will happen is I will browse around the expo, go to a publisher that I wasn't considering, something will catch my eye, or there'll be a space on the table and I'll go, let's give it a try. I'll sit down, play it, and I might even find a hidden gem or two. It's happened in other expos and other conventions as well, and I love it when that happens. I tend to go in with low expectations for games, knowing that if it's going to surprise me, whoa, it's going to blow my mind. But I've been burnt a lot on Kickstarter hype trains, I've been burnt a lot on convention hype, where it's like, oh my god, I want to play this game, this looks so amazing, and then it's, it does happen. So I go in with a slightly lowered line for expectations, only to then hopefully be completely amazed and bewildered. So that's it for me. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast episode. Hope you've enjoyed this little video preview, depending on how you're listening to this. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday evening at the press event. If you're going to there, I'll be in the t-shirt. You should be able to find me easily. I look forward to meeting some of you, whether you're bloggers, whether you're just casual gamers, veteran gamers, whether you've barely listened to what I do, if you've never met me before, I don't mind. I just look forward to seeing you all at this great convention. See you on Thursday, all the way through Sunday. Take care, and remember, it's still only a game at the end of the day. See you soon.